started yet. Thank you so much for joining us. It's been an absolute pleasure to have had you guys on the course for, what has it been now? 2 weeks? Is it 3 weeks? 2 weeks. I think it's 2 or 3 weeks, but it's been fantastic. And I hope you're really enjoying learning all of the fantastic material. So what we have today is the amazing Tanya. And I'm going to try and introduce Tanya in the best way that I possibly can. Tanya has been part of Black Females for quite a while. She is a software developer, a front-end developer, and she's actually writing the JavaScript part of the course as well. So you're going to be learning directly from Tanya, who's right over there, whichever way you see her on my fingers. So Tanya is going to be doing that. She's going to be doing an amazing talk this evening as well to tell us all about what it's been like being a front-end developer. So for those of you who are looking to potentially go into that sort of role, Tanya is going to give you a bunch of insight that should be really useful for you. So I am going to hand over to our fantastic Tanya. My thing's mirrored. I'm going to pass you over to Tanya and she's going to start her talk. Thank you very much, Tanya. Welcome.
Thank you, Charlene. That was really nice of you. And thank you for keeping me booked and busy throughout 2020. You're keeping me employed, you're keeping me out of trouble, and I really appreciate it.
Always, that's what I'm here for. I'll keep you busy. A lot more
to out of trouble. Cool, let me share my screen with you all because I was asked to make some slides, so I did that. Can everyone see my screen?
Yeah.
Yeah, perfect. So my name's Tanya and I'm going to tell you a bit about my experiences getting into tech, what I'm currently doing in tech, and some of my thought process is on picking up new front-end tasks. So I'll tell you some fun facts about me. Oh, actually, I'll tell you something interesting about these slides. Everything you've learned so far in HTML can help you build slide decks. So these slides that I'm showing you today, it's all HTML. So you've already got skill sets to make slides and stop using PowerPoint because PowerPoint's crap. So I'll tell you some fun facts about me. I consider myself a master chef in training. I've been in a couple of your sessions so far, and I'm always in the kitchen, then running back quickly to come back to the breakout area, then realizing I'm missing out on half of what that talk actually was and trying to catch up quickly, then I'm running back into the kitchen. So if I'm ever in a session with you guys, you'll notice I'm in the kitchen more than I'm paying attention to what's happening. I'm also a massive fan of the Real Housewives of Potomac. The new season's just started. If anyone's watching, please message me. I need someone to talk about it with. None of my friends watch it, they're all rubbish. I'm also the JavaScript course writer for this bootcamp. So in less than 2 weeks' time, you'll be learning about JavaScript through my words, I guess. And any feedback would be much appreciated because I can always tweak things as we go along. And I'm also a career transitioner. And what I mean by that is I didn't start my full-time working life in tech. I started out in a different industry and progressed into technology after a few years. And I'll tell you a bit about that now. So when I was 17, I just got my A-levels and my mum said to me, you've got one or two choices, get a full-time job or get an education. I said to her, I'm too much of a babe to get a full-time job. I'm not ready for that life. And only middle-class white people go to university. She said to me, you're a damn ignorant fool and you're too immature to get a full-time job. So guess what you're doing? So a few weeks later, I moved to the Watford University and I got a Bachelor of Science in Media Production. After graduating, I got a job, various jobs in the media. I worked in that industry for 8 years. And during my last role, I was working at the BBC as a presentation scheduler. And the software that we used was terrible. I can't describe how bad it was. We had people on my team getting RSI, like the software was injuring people. And at any given moment, half the team would get kicked off because it couldn't handle more than 10 people using this piece of software. Now, being an impatient person, I was constantly on the phone to IT support to get things sorted. After several months of getting nowhere with them, I pulled a Karen And I was like, let me speak to your manager. Let me speak to someone who can make a difference because our communication is not going well. I need you to do something. I need help right now. So they put me through to the development team. By the time I got through to the development team, I had a whole long list of issues with details, which I later found out are called bugs. Because at this point, I knew nothing about software. And they're like, who is this girl coming with us with a list of bugs and then with links to Stack Overflow? And I'm like, yeah, I've just been Googling these error messages and it's pointing to this thing called Stack Overflow. Maybe this can help you. So after that, I was given 1 day a week to spend with the development team. We'll go through all the issues and they'll make fixes. I'll come back, test them. We go through the whole cycle again. And little did I know, I was actually part of a software life cycle and I had absolutely no idea. And one day, because I spent so much time with this team, one of the guys said to me, have you ever thought about a career in technology? And me being an ignorant fool, as my mum would say, I was like, no, that's for nerds. And he was like, well, hate to break it to you, but you think like a nerd. Maybe this is what you should be doing in life. So I went home that evening, started looking for courses, and I found a part-time master's degree in software engineering. So in 2012, I went to the University of Westminster to study part-time for a master's in software engineering. So at this time, I was working full-time still, studying part-time, and taking care of my nephew, my now 23-year-old nephew. And during the first semester, I thought I was going crazy. The first bit of software we learned was, so everything I learned on that course, I learned in reverse of what you're learning now. So I learned all data stuff first, all back-end stuff first, nothing visual at all, not towards the very end of the course. So the first language you picked up was C++. And I was like, what is this? Everything was on the terminal. I was using a Linux machine. I had never heard of a Linux machine before. I was like, this is
Tanya's iPad.
I was like, this is a nightmare. I actually hated it. And during the first semester, I was ready to give up. There's so many times I was going to quit. There's only one other girl on my course. She quit halfway through the first semester. So by Christmas 2012, I was the only girl there. I was like, I don't have anyone to talk to about this. I don't have a support network. And I remember during the Christmas holidays, still working full time, I had coursework to do. I was making sure this kid had food and was clean. And I had the flu. And I was like, this is too much. My mum called me one day. She's like, what's wrong, baby? I'm like, forget it, I'm giving up. I'm done. This is not for me. I'm giving up. She gave me another pep talk. And I was like, oh, okay, let me listen to this lady one more time. She's probably right. And during my flu and fever, I had a aha light bulb moment where suddenly I was like, I understand the terminal. I understand what a function is. Oh my gosh, if I write these things, something happens. It made sense. It took 4 months for me to get to that point, but it suddenly made sense. And I was like, okay, I've got this. So in September 2014, I finished my master's degree and I came out with a merit. I was like this close to distinction. So I went from hating the course to getting almost top marks. And that's because I listened to my mum and just persevered through it. Even after graduating, I still wasn't sure that I wanted to actually be an engineer. I was like, I'm not sure about this life. I don't like repetition. I've got a very short attention span. I feel like I'm a bit of a creative person. I'm not sure if I like doing back-end stuff because I'd only studied back-end and any front-end I wanted to do was in my own time. So I still wasn't sure. I took a few months out before starting to look for a job. And in 2015, I found a job and became a graduate software engineer. And still after taking this job and accepting this job, I still wasn't sure if I wanted to be an engineer. I was like, I'm still not sure about this life. But the good thing about the graduate software engineer scheme that I was on is I got to spend 5 months in different departments, different tech teams around the company. So I got to experience all types of technology and all types of software development. So I started off in a games team. So going from C++ to suddenly, oh, can you please build some games in Flash? And I was like, I've never seen Flash before. For like, oh, you figure it out. My boss, first day, my manager said to me, you'll figure it out. Don't worry, you'll be fine. After I was on the games development team, I moved onto a backend team doing Java. So I was like, okay, there's another language I've got to pick up now. So within the space of 10 months, I've done Flash, I've done Java, all in professional settings. I still wasn't sure. I was like, I liked games, that was fun. Everyone seemed cool. So maybe I'll go towards games development. Then I joined a front end team. And this team, like, maybe it was a personality click, but everyone in that team had very similar personalities to me, like all slightly insane. And I was like, I can vibe with these people. You guys are all slightly crazy. You're all logical and you're all kind of creative. Like, yeah, this could be a good fit. But I was on the graduate scheme, so I had to keep rotating around until I finished all my rotations. So after being on the front end team, I moved on to a full stack development team. It was a brand new team that was previously just back end only. And they wanted someone with a bit of front end experience who understood the company. Because I'd been in so many different teams, I had an awareness of the company. So like, can this strange girl over here please join the team? So I joined the full stack team. So I was doing a bit of front end, a bit of back end, a little bit of anything that was asked of me. And then after that, the front end team said to me, could you please come back to our team permanently, but be a full stack developer on our team? So I was the only full stack developer on a front end team for almost 3 years, which really meant about 90% of the time I was doing front end, but anytime they wanted any back end work to be done, they just fling it my way, which I was fine with, to be honest. So currently, oh my God, the sun is in my eye. I'm just gonna lower it down. If I look uncomfortable, don't worry. So currently I'm at a company called Harry's Grooming. They make male grooming products like razors, shower gel, blah, blah, blah. And I'm a software engineer at that company. So 90% of the time I do front end work. And I'm currently helping build a new platform for all the upcoming brands. So the owners of the company have decided that they want to launch about 14 new brands in the next few years. So the platform they're building is similar to an internal Shopify, but specifically for Harry's, the umbrella group of Harry's Grooming. And we're also building a shared component library on our team. So some of you have used Bootstrap before. You can consider our shared component library similar to Bootstrap with some more bells and whistles, but specifically for Harry's Grooming. All of the code we've written so far for this new platform and our shared component library is in React and TypeScript. And because I am a pain in my boss's ass, and I also like to go around the company speaking to everyone in different departments, during my first few weeks, I was sat with the customer support team, and I was just like, oh, tell me about this software that you use because it looks terrible. And they were telling me about all the problems they were having. And I was like, oh, do you know what? Actually, maybe I could whip up an API that will help you and streamline your performance, make things easier for you, blah, blah, blah. Went to my boss and he was like, okay, that's your project. You'll be working on that next. And I've always known that it's good to keep up my back-end skills because one day I might decide to become a back-end engineer again. So what does a front-end developer actually do? We are responsible for creating and maintaining the presentation of a website or application. So anything that's visual that a user will see, or that a front-end developer is responsible for that. We're also responsible for anything that the user will interact with. So it's not just about making it look pretty and presentable. It's if I click a button, will something happen? If I hover over a button, will something happen? We're responsible for anything that the user interacts with on the website or application. So I thought I'd talk you all through a pretty common front-end task and like some of the things that I would think about when picking up this sort of task. There's probably more things that I would think about as well, but these are like some of the more general things. So a sign-up form is pretty common. I'm pretty sure you've all filled in a few in your time, and in your career, you'll probably create a few as well. So when I'm assigned a task like this, I might think to myself, is this design responsive? Should it look like this on desktop, mobile, and tablet? Do I have to change anything, whether it's the width for something, for font? What changes had to be made? How do I make this accessible? So if someone's got visual impairment, how can I make this sign-up form usable for a screen reader? If they have to zoom in really close, how can I make sure there's not too much white space and that if they zoom in on any part of the page, that they can see some type of content? Because you've always got to be aware of that. I think it's easy for people who don't have visual impairments to forget to build things for people who do. And it's really important that we remember that not everyone can see the work that we're actually putting in. Then I think, how am I going to validate this data? So example, if someone's filling in the email input, as they're typing it, if they miss out the @ symbol, do I tell them straight away you've missed it out and let them stop continuing? Or do I wait until they click on the sign up button? Also, how do I ensure that they don't already have an account? Is there something else that I need to do when building this form? And then, where is this data being held? Okay, you filled in this form, you've clicked this button. What happens to this data that I now have? Do I just keep it in the application? Do I keep it in the user's browser? Do I have to put it in a database somewhere? What do I do with this data? And then finally, what type of testing should I do for a simple sign-up form? So in software, there's many forms of testing. So you could just manually check the functionality, literally build it, type in your input, press sign up. Does it work as expected? That's one type of testing. Another type of testing is unit testing. So I'll just test this sign up form in complete isolation from the rest of the application and make sure that it looks the way I expect it to look. But when I click on the button behavior behaves the way I expect it to behave. If I input anything in the fields, that the input is what I'm expecting it to be. And then there's also end-to-end testing. So if I put this sign-up form in the rest of the application, does this work according to a happy path? So if someone clicks on sign up and continues through all of it, how does this single form interact with the rest of the application? So those are a few things that I think about when starting a new front-end task. But don't worry about having to remember all of this. The great thing is you're going to be working on a team. So even if you remember 2 things on this list, someone else in your team is going to remember the other things. And as you have more and more practice and you get more used to it, your list will be much longer than this when you're thinking about tasks. So I want to quickly tell you about how technology has changed my little world. So my spreadsheets are now on point. Like, I can't emphasize that enough. So at the end of April, beginning of May, my friend was, oh, I want to lose weight. I'm looking for an app to make me lose weight. And I was like, put things in a spreadsheet. And she was like, no, that's too complicated. I was like, give me lunchtime. I'll make you a nice spreadsheet. What do you want? You want to convert kilos to stones to pounds? You want some charts? What do you want? What do you need? Talk to me. I'll make it happen. She's like, how are you going to make it? I'm like, it's functionality. I'm an engineer. I can make it happen. I'm like, what do you want? Tell me what you want and I'll make your dreams come true. She didn't believe me. A lunchtime later, I was like, here's your spreadsheet. Enjoy. I'm able to make people's dream a reality just by knowing how to write a little bit of code. I've had so many friends, I want to start a blog, but I don't know what to do with WordPress. And I'm like, forget WordPress, buy the domain name, I'll build something for you. Oh, I want to start online shop. Cool, great. Buy a domain name, I'll do the rest for you. Oh, I want to do something with Twitter. Cool, great, I'll build a bot for you. Oh, I've just bought an Amazon Echo. Great, I'll build something for you. What do you want? Talk to me. And you'd be surprised, little things that you can do with a little bit of code. Like I've automated in my home, like completely automated. And I hope nobody says that Amazon Echo's name because she'll go off right now. But she does so much for me and I really appreciate her. I've met some amazing people working in technology from all walks of life. When I started off in the graduate scheme, it was me as a 29-year-old Black woman with 5 middle-class white English 21-year-olds. And I was like, oh my God, this is going to be a nightmare. I'm not going to, I was like, oh, what have I signed up for? I was like, maybe I should quit. It's a running theme, maybe I should quit. And I got along with all of them so well. On paper, we had nothing in common. But to this very day, I still talk to most of them. We get on really, really well. And I've met people from all different backgrounds. I used to work with a girl on my team, my friend Pravina, love her to bits. She's like, I'm the only obese Indian pansexual woman that you've ever met. I was like, yeah, you're right, and I love you for it. And then being in technology has also given me the opportunity to give back to different communities. I've always wanted to give back in any way, shape or form, and I never knew how. But now, with the gift of technology, I can, and it's amazing. So when, just before lockdown started, I went to my local food bank because I live 5 minutes away from one of them. And I was like, I was waiting there for a quick chat, and I was like, you know, our hearing room is like, we're about to go on lockdown, people could be out of jobs. So there could be a lot of people coming to you. How are you set up to support these people? Ever like, we just get people phoning in and asking them what they need. I was like, no, what you need to do is get yourself an Amazon wish list, update your website, sort your social media, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, do you need help? What can I do for you? And they're like, who the hell is this girl that's just walked in after work off the street and is offering to help? I was like, people are gonna come to you. So let me help you to help them, because if we do go on lockdown and people start losing their jobs, your services are going to be needed. So let me help you before it gets to that point. So I'm going to leave you with a few parting words of wisdom before I open the floor for questions. And I'm hoping you all have questions. You're already amazing. Just continue being you. Don't shy away. Don't try and hold back on your personality. Let it shine. I've realized in my tech career that when I do let my personality shine, doors start opening for me. And I'm like, oh, this is interesting. Because most people, but a lot of people in technology, I'm an introvert. I don't like going outside. I don't like humans. But I know how to have a conversation. And I come across so many engineers who can't hold a conversation. So when I do start speaking to them, they're like, who's this? You're talking to me, like, yeah, you're human, like interact, show some emotion, emote people. So you're already amazing. Continue being yourself. Don't like try and hold back on who you are. Just be your unapologetic self. Take breaks. I cannot stress this enough. I did it to myself yesterday. Spent 5 hours looking at a problem. Literally went to go make a drink. I went, that's what I was doing wrong. Because I took a 30-second break to go make a drink. Take as many breaks as you need. Because staring at code all day will drive you crazy. Ask for help. I ask dumb questions all the time. I've even got to the habit now of starting my sentences with, I've got a dumb question to ask. And then everyone rolls their eyes like, here she goes again. Let's ask your questions, please, because sometimes you will ask a question which you think is dumb, but actually completely changes the point of view of someone else or gives insight to something that no one's even considered. So ask as many questions as you can. Ask for help. I usually have about 100 tabs open because I'm always asking Google to help me all the time. And when I started out, I didn't have a community like this. I felt like I was doing this by myself. Apart from the people on my course, which I didn't really like, I didn't have anyone else to ask for help. You guys have already got a community. Support each other, ask for help, offer support, offer help. And I've just said it already. Build your support network. Build people around you who's going to help you and keep you going through all of this. Because there are going to be times where it's going to be hard. And you're going to be thinking to yourself, why am I doing this? Why can't I solve this problem? Why isn't it going the way I expected? And that support network around you is going to boost you up and boost your ego and make you feel so good about yourself. And sometimes we just need someone to stroke our egos. And then share your journey. There's not enough Black women in technology. We know this. And we're not represented on social media. If you go on tech Twitter, you don't see many Black faces. If you go on YouTube, you don't see many Black faces. We are invisible. So however you feel comfortable sharing your journey, please do. Listen, I want to know about your journeys. I'm highly invested in every single one of you, whether you know it or not. I'm invested in this bootcamp. I need to see you all winning. So please share your journeys. And on that note, does anybody have any questions?
So I have a question.
Of course.
Well, before I even get into questions, sorry, that was absolutely amazing. I think I almost cried for a little bit of it.
What?
Like, that was really, really inspiring. Thank you so much. Honestly, so fantastic. Okay, before we get to my question, we do have some that are coming on the chat. How long roughly are you working on each task?
It depends. It depends on my mood. I'm very mood dependent. It depends on the task that I'm working on. So the task I was working on earlier in the week, it was supposed to take me 1 day. It took me 3.5 days. Because when we were first discussing it, there were several things that we didn't consider. So when I started doing it, I was like, oh no, we didn't think about this. Oh no, I've got to do that. Oh no, oh crap. So when my boss was like, hey, you're taking your time when it's really easy story, I was like, actually, here's a list of reasons why it's going to take me ages. So this is now a week-long task. Sorry. It completely depends on what the task is.
Yeah, absolutely. The next question is, what's your favorite project that you've worked on?
Oh, do you know my favorite project? So when I first got my Amazon Echo, I won't say her name, and I was like, oh, let me play about this. Like, what can I build to like entertain myself? So I built this little app to boost my ego. I was like, I can't remember what I called it now, but every time I called it, it was Alexa singing really cheesy 90s R&B lyrics to me to make me feel good about myself. I feel I called it like stroke my ego or something like that, but it was literally just singing R&B lyrics to me.
I love that. Sorry, that makes us well. What is a typical day like for you?
A typical day, okay, I'll tell you today. So today was me waking up late. But we have a 9:15 stand-up for my team. So everyone of the team comes together and we discuss what is my most important thing to complete today? What's the status of the work or story that I'm working on or task that I'm working on? So usually I wake up late, I'll have a quick shower, then I'll run to stand up with my uncombed hair, no makeup, looking like a hot mess. And I was showing a few people before the call started. I was like, I've got like hula hoops on my desk. I've got snacks on my desk. So usually at 9:15 stand up, everyone's talking sensibly. I'm leaning back, eating, just snacking away. After that, I then start talking to people. Instead of doing work, I have to start chatting to people on Slack for like an hour. And then I'll do some work. And then I'll continue the task that I'm working on. Then it's lunchtime. And then after that, I continue with the task that I'm working on. And at 6 o'clock, my work day's over. Then it's time to pick up some coding Black female work. So I usually take about an hour break, maybe have something to eat. Then while I'm catching up on the Real Housewives of every city, let's be honest, I'm doing coding Black female work. Then I've also got a bad habit of whatever song I'm listening to, I incorporate into my code base. So when you're writing tests, you don't have to use real life data. So whatever song I'm listening to, I'll add the lyrics into my tests. And then I get away with it quite often, actually. But someone spotted it this week. They were like, someone's been listening to Drake. And I was like, yeah, sure have. Just improved my work, thank you.
Absolutely love that. I feel like I'm going to definitely end up burning out the entire community that is working on coding Black females' work. So don't let that happen, please, because we need you. We need you. Somebody has asked, do you feel like we've got loads of questions, by the way. There are quite a lot.
Good.
Yeah, you've got loads, so it's all good. Do you feel like you have a good work-life balance?
I do, actually. There was, when I first got into tech, I went head first into tech. I was going to every event. I was doing the most. And bear in mind, I was doing the most while looking after this kid. He's not here, so I can call him this kid, it's fine. Looking after this kid, still working full time, learning on the job, and going to every event available. After a few months, I was like, this is too much. And then I also joined a Women in Tech Slack, and they were active. They were talking all the time. They were based in the UK, but people would message me at 4:30 in the morning, 5:30 in the morning. I'm like, why do you people not sleep? Like, leave me alone. It was too much. So after that, I was like, okay, let's scale it back. Maximum one event a week. If I'm going to go to an event, maximum one a week. Even doing the JavaScript course for this and even preparing for this talk, I wasn't working on it every day. I mean, Charlene's here, I shouldn't say this to her, but I haven't been working on it every day. I've been taking several breaks because my brain needs it. And like, it's Friday night right now, I'm quite brain dead. So I was like, I don't want to do a technical talk with you guys. I'll just tell you about me because it's Friday, we're all tired. We don't need to be hearing about functionality and jargon and algorithms on Friday. It's too much. But yeah, I've created a work-life balance for myself. And if I don't have capacity to do something, I'll just say no.
Okay. But you know, when I asked you to do something...
Apart from when Charlene calls me, like, can you please create a JavaScript course in 2 weeks?
Of course, that's fine. It's fine. You like being busy. It's all good. Okay, so do you prefer back-end or front-end development, and why?
I prefer front-end because I consider myself a bit creative, and it gives me opportunity to be creative. So I get to do animations. Bear in mind, my bachelor's is in media production, so I did like a lot of 3D animation during it. So even though I've considered myself pretty bad with CSS, I get to do some creative work with front end. So I do prefer that to back end, but logically speaking, I think my brain is more wired to back end. Like, now that I get it, now I just get back end. It makes perfect sense to me. Front end has a lot of things to consider. You've got to consider the different browsers. Is someone using Internet Explorer, Chrome, Safari? On what device? Do they have enough memory on their phone? Do they make any changes? So many things that are out of your control that you've got to think about in front end. But I love it still because it's a challenge, and I love a challenge.
It sounds like you started in a sort of back end world, though, right? So
I did, yeah.
Back end has a nice thing to it, doesn't it? I agree with you on that.
Back end's deterministic, and what I mean by that is, if you're going to say 1 + 1 = 2, it's going to give you 2.
Mm-hmm.
In front end, because you've got to consider external factors, people's devices, how they treat their devices. Some things are out of your control, so you're like, it's up to the code and God right now. It's pretty much out of my control.
Code and God. It's so true. What do you enjoy most and least about software developing?
I get to do something different every day. I don't like repetition. I've got a really short attention span. So I get to do something. I get to work on different things every day. So earlier this week, I was working on pure logic, moving data from one place on the application to another place. And then today I was like, I'm gonna do some animation. So what I love about it is it could be different every day. If you want it to be, you don't have to. You can be like, I only want to do logic, or I only want to do more creative sides. But I like to change it. I like to switch it up. It keeps my attention.
Mm-hmm. Quick question from me before I continue with the 50,000 questions that are coming in. How long have you been a software developer?
5 years this month. Professionally, 5 years this month.
Oh, wow. Oh, perfect.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of how
I still feel like a baby dev. Learn every day.
It's weird, isn't it, when you at some point you realize that you've been doing it for a while, so all of a sudden you should feel as though you know everything, and you just never feel that way.
It's when I was doing these slides, I was like, who started coding in 2012? I did not. I was like, when did this happen?
It's mad. So can you tell us more about how you've used code to make everyday life things easier, such as when you helped your friend with a spreadsheet?
Yes, I helped my friend with a spreadsheet. My lights are all automated. Even though last week my electricity cut out, and here's the downside of automating things. You lose electricity, you've got to start all over again. So last week my electricity cut out. I had to reset all these stupid lights, and it really annoyed me. But they're all automated, so they go off at 11:30, which is the indication to go to bed, and they come on in the morning, which is the indication to wake the hell up. And I also set them to music, so when I'm here by myself working and coding, if whatever song I'm playing, the lights change according to the songs that I'm playing, which is like nice.
Okay, can you come and code my house, please? Because it's funny, I have another friend that also coded their house, and I'm like, come and do it. They're like, no, I'm not doing it. It was really hard. Never doing that again. That sounds really cool. You made it that like go to your music. I love that.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's probably why before I started the talk, I was saying that last week I was playing Kalani, like all the explicit songs on repeat. And I was taking the rubbish out the other day, and I could hear like the little neighbour kids humming the songs, and I was like, oh my God. But it's probably because I'm the one who's got the bright lights playing with this music and they're attracted to that.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I'm a bad influence, like I'm a bad adult.
Whilst we're on automating things, what languages did you use to automate stuff in your home?
JavaScript. I'll tell you about JavaScript. When I started as a graduate software engineer, and my manager said, oh, you're going to move onto a team that does JavaScript. I was like, no, I'm not. I was like, I don't like JavaScript. I've never done JavaScript. I don't want to know about this JavaScript. To then end up professionally doing JavaScript for many years. So I've learned during my adult life to stop rebelling against things, because people actually know better than I do.
That can't be true.
It's all facts.
Could you use Java to automate them if you're not like...
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Okay, so I can still do it. That's fine.
Yeah.
Would you say your media background helps with developing?
Yes. Do you know, I think not just my media background, I think my background full stop, because everyone wants to build a product that is general use and it's inclusive for everybody, but they only have a certain group of people creating these products. So when I come in as usually the only Black female coming from a poor background with a bad attitude, I will always see things differently from the rest of my team. And even like doing a sign-up form, as simple as, oh, I've got to do a sign-up form. And I'm like, yeah, but did you think about people? I'm always wondering, did you think about people with visual impairments? And they're like, I'm like, how will my Auntie Pat use this form? And they're like, well, you're always bringing up your Auntie Pat. I'm like, but she's visually impaired. I think about her. She's my user. You must think about her too. So I think our backgrounds, full stop. Like we're unique, we're special, we're different. We're not your typical software engineers. So we bring a lot to the table that they never consider.
That's 100%. I've seen that happen on so many projects where I've gone in and you're like, what about this? And like, oh, we just never ever considered that. And you're like, what? Like, how did you not? Yeah,
exactly. It's like, it's really obvious to us, but not to anyone else.
So important. Okay, let me see, where am I? They keep on coming in. Okay, right. You mentioned the software lifecycle. How does that work?
So, oh my gosh, I haven't thought about a software lifecycle since I was at uni and had to study that. So, there's different software lifecycles. So there's something called waterfall, which you build your software to its full capacity, and then you unleash it to the world. And any problems that happen, you come back, you fix it, you unleash it to the world. You go around in that circle. And then in more recent, so that's the cycle that I was in with this terrible software that I was using when I was working in TV. Now there's something called Agile, which I highly suggest you all read about. And there's different types of Agile as well. This is, you don't have to go into depth in your reading, just be aware that Agile exists, and when you get your jobs, you'll probably be on an Agile team. But there are different types of software development life cycles. So maybe have a quick Google of what they are.
Have a Google, but I will also share some resources about software life cycles in Slack, because I think it's really, really useful to have an understanding of how the different ones work. Okay, we only have about 10 questions left. If everyone's okay, we're probably going to run over 7:30, but I really want all these questions to be answered because Tanya's doing great. So yes, this is awesome. Oh yeah, and one of the questions that was like an add-on to that last one, how do you know how long tasks will take?
So in Agile, you base your task on, you size your task on the complexity of it, which can be hard to measure. So if I wanted to, let me think of an example of a really small story. If I wanted to change the text on a button, as simple as that, you might point that one point. It's very low effort. If I want to change the behavior of this button, I could, depending on the type of behavior, that can go from 2 points to 8 points. It completely depends on what you're being asked to do, which is why when a task is being presented to you, ask as many questions as possible. And when you start it, continue asking as many questions as possible. And even when you're close to finishing it, continue asking questions, because there will always be something that you haven't thought of. I think it's a common problem in software, that how do you know how long to spend on the task? How long is a piece of string? We don't know. You can have a rough guesstimate, but the reality is you don't actually know. And it all depends on your team. It depends on how comfortable you are with that code base. So if you're starting a brand new, you could have 15 years experience and you're starting a brand new job tomorrow, you're not going to be up to speed straight away. It's going to take you a while to get comfortable with that particular code base. So it depends. It's a question mark. It really is.
Yeah, I only laugh because I know that project managers have heard.
They hate it. They hate it.
Yeah.
The quick fire way to make an engineer and a project manager clash. How long is this task going to take? I don't know, lady. I don't know.
It is what it is.
I'll update you tomorrow because you'll be in my stand-up, and I'll update you the day after that. I don't know.
Okay, are there alternative ways of teaching code to individuals with different learning needs, such as dyslexia and dyspraxia?
Yeah, I think teaching in general depends on how you like to be taught. I'm a more visual learner. I know that. So I prefer to see something and then try and reenact it. My mum is a more, she likes to read. That's how she learns. She learns better by reading. Everyone learns everything differently. So it completely depends on how you like to be taught. But yeah, I honestly believe that everyone on this planet can write code. And it's just a matter of how you like to be taught, how you like to learn. You have to find the best way for you. Does that help?
I would say as well to anybody who is learning at the moment on the bootcamp, if you've got any specific learning needs that you need us to support with, then do let us know and we'll do what we can.
Yeah.
We might not be able to say adopt the whole course to teach it differently, but we can give you additional support from like a mentor or something to make sure that you've got the support there that you need to learn in the style that makes sense for you as well. So do let us know if it's anything.
And the person who just asked that question, can I just say that many teams will be after you once you finish this bootcamp, because a lot of people creating software do not think about people like you. So you're going to be in demand.
Where do you want to be in your tech career in the next 5 years?
I have no idea. I don't even know about next week. I genuinely don't know. I've been asking myself this. And the reality is, I'm just not that organized to think that far ahead. I don't know. I would love to have my own business because I think I have control issues and I like to be in control. But I also like the idea of being a technical architect or maybe a chief technical officer. I don't know. Shani had a big grin on her face when I said that, and I'm concerned now. So I would like to retract everything I just said. I don't know what ideas have gone through your head.
I'm gonna do what I can. We've got to think of how we're gonna do what we can, Tanya. That's all I'm saying. I'm just excited at your 5-year plans. And anybody else who's got plans, I'm gonna use those plans as well. Thank you very much. Do you think there will be more opportunities working remotely because of COVID?
I hope so.
Yeah.
I really, really hope so.
Do you think that developer roles are good for mums?
Oh, that's a good question. I've thought about this a lot, actually. And maybe it's because I can be quite forceful. So I'll be like, I need to not be here right now. Sorry, I'll take my laptop with me and maybe if I get an opportunity, I'll catch up. But if I can't be here, I can't be here. Not everyone's as forceful as me, and I don't recommend being forceful either. But yeah, I do actually, because you can make whatever you want. If you know how to code, you can make whatever kind of life that you want. You could be a freelancer, so you can set your own time, set your own rate, set your own hours, to make it as flexible as you want. And people will come to you and be like, can you please build me a website? You're going to get people. You can, loads of companies now, they're actively working on diversity and inclusion. And as I pointed out at my work recently, that also includes parents. And they were like, I'm like, yeah, everyone gets involved now. So I think you guys are coming in at a good time because now everyone's thinking about diversity and inclusion. They're going to have to start thinking about parents as well. Especially as more and more women are getting into technology, the odds are that they'll be going on maternity leave at some point. What happens? So they have to start thinking about this.
I think what's also made a huge difference is with COVID, a lot of, and this is going to sound awful, so maybe I shouldn't say this, but with COVID, everybody, regardless of whether they're a man or a woman, yeah, that's a good way to do it, regardless of whether someone's a man or a woman, they're now having to look after their children at home whilst they're working at home. And what that's going to do is really drive change, because it's not just having an impact on people that's not them, it's impacting everyone. So I think that what we're going to see is a huge change in that flexible working, because now everybody needs it, not just women. So yeah, it's going to make a huge difference. What's the most difficult part about working as a front-end developer?
The most difficult part is iOS Safari. So if you have an iPhone and you use Safari, I do not like you, because that browser has caused me so many problems. It just behaves differently now. Apple keep changing things and tweaking things, and I'm just like, why Apple are you doing this? Because I've now got to completely change everything I was doing just to suit you. Why are you so needy? So dealing with Apple, I've sent many bugs to Apple. I've sent many bugs to Google as well. I'm like, why do you keep changing things? Please stop doing that. You're making life difficult for me. Thank you.
Sorry, true. Browsers are frustrating. Just have completely different behaviour. And sometimes if you're like me, you don't find out until someone's like, I just tried to access this and it doesn't work, rather than you probably
Or I've had several times on Friday at 5:30. Oh yeah, I was just trying this on my iPhone and it doesn't. I'm like,
yeah. You previously mentioned how you didn't like other people on your software engineering course. Did you ever face imposter syndrome, and how did you overcome it?
I still face it now. I still, every single day. It's it's draining, it's annoying. Maybe it's because, I think it's not just because I'm a Black woman, but also because, no, it is because I'm a Black woman. And also I come from a poorer socioeconomic background. So when I'm with these middle class people that, oh, I get my coffee delivered from blah, blah, blah. I'm like, I buy whatever instant coffees on special offer in Tesco. Like, we're not having the same conversation here. So even like things like every normal day chit chat, I'm like, I can't join in because I just don't get it. So when it comes to meetings, I'm like, I feel like an outsider sometimes. I'm an outsider. And in meetings, I've had people just shut me down or take my ideas. And I'm gonna be real, I'm a clap back queen, but I can't do that at work because I'll get fired. So people will talk over me in meetings, and you watch me do a woosah moment and just hold my breath. So I'm like, I can't react the way that I want to. I'm working on it. It's an everyday thing, but I'm working on it. It's hard.
So we've just had a question come in. There's a bunch of questions in the middle, but I'm going to ask this one because you've mentioned a bit about race. How do you navigate race in the office? Someone just said they've just come off a bad experience with a microaggression in their bootcamp. So how do you navigate race?
It depends on the situation. Sometimes depends on the situation. I've had to go to HR before to report people, which I wasn't comfortable with, because I know that HR is not actually there for you as an individual. They're there for the company. But I was like, I'm forced. I have actually no option right now. I either quit this job or I have to report this person to HR, which was not fun and was a really tedious process and was borderline traumatic, to be honest, because the way they spoke to me, they're like, do you really think it's that serious? I'm like, yes, I don't think it's that serious. I know it's that serious. I'm like, just because you don't think it is, don't dismiss my feelings. That's not what you're here to do. Sometimes when I get like little microaggressions, I will be, I'll just fight back in their face and give one back, which is not the approach is not the adult thing to do.
I wish I'd known you at the beginning of my career, because the stuff that I experienced, and I was like, I just didn't tell anyone. I was like, I just take a deep breath, hold it in, it's fine. And as you get more into it, you're like, no, wait, I should have told somebody. Like, that's not okay.
Yeah.
All these things are not okay. So
the thing is, I've got no problem with putting people in their place, and especially when a man does it to me, I've got no problem with emasculating you. I'm like, oh really? You really want to go there? I'll shut you down straight away. Like, why? What? Why do you want to test me? Like, do you not know who I am?
Would you mind giving us an overview of your back-end skills?
Overview, yep. So when I started my masters, I started doing C++, and then I moved on to C#. I was building APIs in C#, and then moved on to Java, again making APIs. I did a lot of database stuff, so I did really well in my relational databases, so SQL module at uni. Like, I don't know how, but I like, picked that up like straight away, which is strange. And then I've done a lot with non-relational databases as well. So spreadsheets, going back to spreadsheets, I recently discovered, while on a Saturday morning conversation with my mum, she's got some data in a Google spreadsheet. And I was like, I would love to make an API out of this data that you've got. So I wonder if I could do that, literally on the phone to her, write up a quick script in JavaScript, managed to migrate this data from this Google spreadsheet into a Firebase data store. I was like, ta-da, Mom, your data's in the database. She's like, what? She's like, we were talking about ice cream. How did you do this? Like, yeah, I was listening and coding.
Tanya's iPad.
Yeah, she does that sometimes. She does that in meetings with important people at work, and I'm like, sorry.
You little friend. So how long did it take you to learn and understand JavaScript? And do you have any tips and advice before everybody else starts it?
I am still learning JavaScript because it evolves all the time. Like every language, it keeps evolving. So I'm still learning JavaScript. And I think it helped when I moved on to JavaScript because I already knew other programming languages. So I was able to like translate other languages. Like, okay, if I can do this in Java, if I can do this in C++ or C#, can I do this in JavaScript? Ask my friend Google. It's like, oh, turns out I can do it. So knowing one, as long as you know one language and you know the fundamentals of programming, you can transfer that to different languages. So don't be scared about picking up new languages, because one day you'll get a boss. Like my very first boss was like, hey, fix some bugs in Flash. I'm like, is it Flash dead? Like, what? What are you asking me?
Did you, so I guess the advice from that is Google, like rely on
Google, everything.
Yeah.
Slack, also.
Yeah, Slack. I need help.
I need help. You might get me sometimes going, I need help. I'm being stupid. You'd be like, Tanya, you spelled it wrong. I'm like, thank you. I just misspelled my name.
Did you ever read any books or book literature during the start of your tech career? If so, what did you find really good?
I didn't read any because I'm a more visual learner. So I find videos more helpful. When I was studying, there was this YouTube channel that got me that master's degree. It's called The New Boston. It's some guy from Boston, and he codes like every language out there. But what I really liked about him, he'll be like in the middle of explaining a bit of code and then just randomly stop and start telling you a story about his girlfriend. And I'm like, I kind of relate to that train of thought because my brain switches context so quickly. And I'm like, oh, as I'm writing this piece of code, I'm thinking about other things as well. But this guy is amazing. He codes in so many, I don't know if his channel's still there. I'll look for it afterwards. But he taught me C++, C#, Java, React, JavaScript, I'm learning TypeScript right now. Maybe he's got some TypeScript stuff. But every language that I want to pick up, I've gone to him and I'm like, hey, New Boston, help me out.
Oh, awesome.
But I didn't read anything because I'm a more visual learner. I learn better by watching.
So someone just shared the video. The link is in the chat. So if anybody's interested in checking it out, check out the New Boston on YouTube. What languages? Oh, we've asked that one already. How did you learn new things? You've kind of actually just said that as well. Yes. Although, how do you know how to stick to best practices?
How to stick to best practices. So the best way to learn is opening pull requests on GitHub. Were pull requests covered in any of the Git stuff?
I don't think we've covered that, no, because everyone's working on their own.
So when you work on a team and you push your code to GitHub, before you're able to merge it into the main master branch, you've got to open something called a pull request, which is going to compare your code to whatever's in the master branch. And during this point, anyone on your team can review your code line by line and give feedback. That's the best way to learn best practices because they will call you out. And I pull at people, so I can't like be offended if someone does it to me because I've done it to other people. And it's the best way to learn because you're like, oh, I didn't realize that. I didn't think about that. Or some kind people be like, hey, actually, have you tried, this is the best practice to do X, Y, and Z. Here's a link to it. Do you want to have a quick chat? Thank you, person. Yes, I would love a quick chat. That'd be great. So when you're working on a team, pull requests, even if you're working on a project by yourself, because you should be pushing everything to GitHub, right? As part of this. So as part of your learning, you can learn how to create branches. And before you merge your branch into your main master, maybe get someone else on the course to look over it, be like, hey, can you look over what I've done? What do you think? And they could be like, have you thought about this best practice?
It's a very good idea. A very good idea. Thank you.
Johnny's going to make you guys do it now. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, you know, we'll be doing that now. Thank you very much, Tanya, for the idea. Do you have a lot of female colleagues?
No. None.
Okay.
Oh, in other departments, yeah. In my team, no.
At least, so I guess the women on this call can help with that in the future.
Yeah.
You will be helping us to make sure that we do have more female colleagues in Tanya's workplace. So thank you very much. Are they hiring?
This is weird because you spotlighted the video for everyone, but now I can see me, so I feel like I'm talking to myself.
Oh, sorry.
It's okay.
Do you want me to unspotlight you?
No, it's fine.
Okay. Yeah, so not many women, but we're going to change that.
Yes.
We're going to have more women in the workplace. That's what we're doing this for. And black women too, so you're going to bring the whole other perspective.
Yes.
So,
I've never, since being in tech, I've never worked with a black woman. I can't wait for the day when it happens. I'm so looking forward to it.
Neither have I. Well, maybe, actually, never mind. We'll leave that for future plans of Coding Black Females. Have you had to do a technical assessment? And if you have, how did you find it?
I hate it. I hate my brain goes blank. And I'm like, I can't remember how to code. My mind honestly goes just blank. I have in interviews, like, can I please Google it? And they're like, fine, because we Google so often. You can easily say in an interview, can I please Google blah, 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 and they'll be fine with it.
Oh,
but
that's nice.
I freeze at technical, like whiteboarding sessions, I freeze. They're not good for me. During my, when I interviewed for the role I'm currently on now, we did, instead of doing a typical technical test, we did an online pairing session. So the company I work for is based in New York. And I did a pairing session with one of the guys in the New York team. So that was a bit more comfortable. So I was able to have back and forth with him, like how you would in a normal everyday pairing session, not just, oh, here's me typing something and just explaining it. It was like, oh, hey, what do you think? Can you give me some feedback? And I was able to like hear his tone of voice as well. Like, oh, he doesn't think what I'm doing is correct. Switch, change it quickly.
That's good. So, in Agile, how many user stories do you usually think of? Like, how do you normally, I guess, how do you also know how to, which things to create as user stories?
So I don't have to create the user stories, thank God. It's the project manager who does.
Oh, okay.
Because I'm a lazy writer at stories. I barely, when I do, there's very little detail and everyone's like, Tanya, what are you talking about? I'm like, sorry, let me add some more detail.
I really enjoy making up names for user stories. I really enjoy that.
I'm good at that part. I'm good at making up names, but actually adding details.
No, I hear that.
This is why I'm not a project manager.
What are your thoughts on the future of front end, as there are so many sites like Wix, Squarespace, etc., that people can use to make their own sites?
Yeah, that's true. But, so there's still some limitations for like Wix, your Shopify, Square, whatever is out there. So when you're like, if a company or a business or even an individual starting out small, don't hire someone like me. Save your money, go get something on Wix. But as you start growing and as you start getting more customers and more eyes on your site, suddenly you're going to need someone like me, because I'm going to start thinking about performance, how things work on different browsers. How does this data get stored? Are you secure? Do you think about people with visual impairments? All these other things start coming into place as your customer base grows. Mm-hmm. So as you're small, yeah, Wix, great. Square's, if you have an idea for an e-commerce and you don't want to code it, go to Square. I tried it out at the beginning of the year. I was doing I was asked at work to give a talk at St. Mungo's homeless shelter. I forgot a college, so people coming who've just stopped being homeless, they've got temporary accommodation. They could do an entrepreneurship course at St. Mungo's, and they asked me to do a talk on building websites because they all have ideas for business. And I walked in and I was like, don't hire someone like me. What I've done is I've set up a Square account this lunchtime and I've tried it out. You can make it e-commerce in 5 minutes. Save your money, use Square. And my boss was like, what? And I was like, it's true. I'm like, they don't have money to hire people. Use free resources. And if when they grow and they have the money, then hire someone like me.
Mm. It's a good stepping stone, isn't it? To start getting the business in, and then you build not the real site, but a different site later on.
Exactly.
Do you always use Windows, or have you used Mac iOS?
I am a Mac user.
Uh-huh.
I've been a Mac user for about 10 years now.
Mm-hmm. It's hard to go back, isn't it, once you start on a Mac?
It is hard to go back, but I do like the changes that Microsoft are making to Windows, which I shouldn't say as a Mac fan, but they're making some nice changes over there. And I use a lot of Microsoft stuff. GitHub, owned by Microsoft. VS Code, Microsoft. I'm now I'm coding in TypeScript. That's also Microsoft. I'm like, might as well buy a Windows machine. Go full circle.
And I think we have just one last question.
Cool.
So we're over by 20 minutes. As a coding newbie who has just completed a bootcamp and coming from a different field, what are your thoughts on breaking into software development through apprenticeships?
I worked with someone who was on an apprenticeship. At my old company, the guy that I used to sit next to was an apprentice. And he used to tell me some horror stories about other people on the course, but he loved it. So I've heard mixed things. I keep in touch with him now because I've always been really curious about how these apprenticeships work. My nephew was on an apprenticeship and he got screwed over, and I'm a mama bear, like that just really annoyed me. But the guy I used to sit next to, who was an apprenticeship, he absolutely loved it and had an amazing experience. But he also told me about people who didn't have as great experience. I think the way he explained it to me was, it completely depends on what team you join at the company that you're being an apprentice on. Because he said other people who were in the same company as us and on an apprenticeship, their team didn't let them write any code. They were just getting them to test all the time. Whereas on my team, because he sat next to me, I was like, I'm throwing you in at the deep end. You're going to learn the hard way like I learned. And he was like, I was like, you're going to be writing tests. You're going to be coding. You're going to be doing DevOps. And he was like, I don't even know what you're saying. I was like, you're going to learn, sir. You're going to learn. So I think if you are fortunate to get on an apprenticeship and then be at a great company and then on a great team, yeah, all for it. But if unfortunately you're not on a great team, you're gonna have to put in more effort yourself and do more learning at home. But we are all here to support you.
Absolutely. What I will say as well, so if you're looking for an apprenticeship, we are talking to quite a few companies at the moment who are going to be opening up apprenticeships, and we're going to then be telling people about them. So do keep an eye out on what we're doing, because we're going to make sure that people know about apprenticeships. And as Tanya has said, we're all behind you anyway. So we've got you back. You'll be fine. Here to support. Okay, that was the last question. There were so many questions.
Yeah, good.
Tanya,
I was concerned there would be no questions. I was like, please let someone ask me a question, please.
You were absolutely amazing. Absolutely loved that.
Thank you. I was really nervous. I was showing my sweat patches, but that's not attractive.
Look.
I know.
Honestly, that was absolutely amazing. I know that everybody's appreciated it. All I'm seeing in the chat is thank you. That was amazing. It was helpful. It was great.
I'm going to look at the chat now.
Yeah, have a look in the chat. It's just loads of people saying really nice things to you. Absolutely fantastic. You should do lots more public speaking, Tanya.
Oh, Charlene, were you going to sign me up for
that? Thank you, everybody. And thank you, Tanya, for coming along.
Bye. Have a lovely weekend. Message me.
Message Tanya. Tanya is available on Slack, in the Black Coder Slack, and in the Coding Black Female Slack. And do you want to just type your social medias in there as well, so that people know how to find you?
Yeah, and I promise that I'm going to try and be more consistent on social media, because I'm really bad with it. Yeah, I'll do it.
Excellent. I will say to everybody, thank you very, very, very much, by the way, for turning up this evening, for coming along and to hear fantastic Tanya talk about being a full stack, front end, all kinds of developers, wiring up a house with code. Code is fantastic. You can do a lot with it. So do try and stay engaged, stay with us, and we're here for you. We're here to support you on your learning journeys. Like always, you're all I think about, which is really sad, but it's just true. I dream the. No, wait, that sounds really weird. I don't dream about you, but I do think about you all learning all the time, and we all really want you to get through this. So we're here for you to support you along the entire journey. And anybody who's not on the bootcamp, we're here for you as well. Coding Black Females is here for you, Neo Enterprise is here for you. We're all here for you, because we just want to see everyone be successful in everything we're trying to do, because it's just, I just love seeing Black women in tech. It's really happy and excited. Yeah, we want you all to win.
There's loads of the chat.
Do you want, huh?
There's so much in the chat. I'm so behind.
There's so much in the chat. Honestly, so much in the chat. Thank you so much, everybody. It's been amazing to see you all this evening. Have fantastic weekends. Enjoy learning more stuff. Don't forget, Slack is there for you. Alexa, Slack is there for you. Slack's there for you. We are there for you. So ask questions if you've got any when you're learning extra stuff over the weekend, and we will make sure that you're supported. Those of you who have mentors, I think Oyen's reached out to most people today, and I'm going to be reaching out to the mentors as well to make sure those links have been made. If you haven't got a mentor yet, it doesn't mean that you're not getting one. It just means that we're getting them for you. So just bear with us. You'll have one in the next couple of weeks. So it's fantastic. I'm going to let you all go and be free. LinkedIn, share your LinkedIn before you go.
Oh yeah, I don't know it.
Her name is Tanya Powell.
My name is Tanya Powell.
Let me find it. I think I've got you. I'm just sharing Tanya's LinkedIn page. I think this is going to be you. Yeah, there you are. Harry's. Fantastic. There you go. Cool. You've got it. Add Tanya on
Was Dion here?
Huh?
Was Dion here?
Yeah. She's here.
Oh, what? Hey, Dion.
Come out. Speak to us. Dion.
Hi.
Oh, no.
There we go.
You know I wasn't going to miss this for anything. Well done, Tanya.
Thank you, Dion. Always pushing me.
Finally.
Shut up.
Hi, everyone. Just want to say well done for getting on the boot camp and just keep pushing. I know it's about 6 months long, right? Yeah. So just try and stay focused and don't listen to any crap from anybody telling you what you're doing that for, why you're bothering, or you'd be crap at it. That just gives you more fuel in your belly to prove them wrong.
Absolutely. I will say that Dion is a fantastic woman. She's a big supporter of all Black women trying to do fantastic things, and she pushes us, she keeps us going, and it's fantastic. So thank you so much for being here and being supportive all the time. You're fantastic too. Oh,
You're welcome.
Just feel emotions all over. Have a lovely weekend, everybody. I'm going to let you all go. Oyen, if you're still there, have a lovely weekend. Please try and get some sleep over the weekend, please. We need you. I can't hear you, but I think you said I'll try.
I'll try to get some sleep.
Thank you.
Bye,
Thank you.
everybody.
Bye.
Bye.